Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. The situation with the Arkansas Razorbacks. Okay, so Arkansas was the first job to open up in the SEC, Week 5. We all remember the Notre Dame game. Stadium emptied out at the half, and man, it was ugly that last day for Sam Pittman. A lot of close losses. You know, you barely lose to Memphis. You barely lose to Ole Miss to open SEC play. So funny, all these things are coming back to Ole Miss. But anyway, barely lose to Ole Miss. Then the doors get blown off against Notre Dame, and Sam Pittman's gone. And so I bring it up because there has obviously been some evolution in the coaching search. By the way, for people just joining us, I am here at Stadium Swim Circa Casino in Las Vegas. I'm here for the Players Era Tournament. I will be going to games this afternoon. And by the way, in about 10 minutes from now, I'll be discussing Players Era because it is certainly the hot topic in all of sports right now. But let's get back to the Arkansas search because we did get some news over the weekend. Pete Thamel, I missed this live. I guess it was during the actual game against Texas where Pete Thamel basically said, hey, this is down to 4 candidates. It's down to Memphis coach Ryan Silverfield, USF coach Alex Golish, Eric Morris, the head coach at North Texas, and Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator at Alabama. And so I bring it up because we talked about this on Sunday's show, and we talked about all the different reports. You know, there was a kind of an interesting report that on Matt Campbell, somehow Matt Campbell's name got linked to Arkansas. Who knows what's true? Who knows what's not? But it feels like it's going to be one of those 4, okay? And so I bring it up because we talked all about it. The one guy we really didn't talk about much was Kane Womack, though. But I can tell you, and I'm going to get into some details in a minute, Kane Womack's name, at least for a little while, especially on Sunday after I finished the show, seemed to pick up steam. And it's not just me that's saying it. I saw this clip. Somebody sent it to me, and I think it's worth playing here. So Dave Bazell, former player at Arkansas. He is also in the media now. I do not know him personally. I feel like I know every Arkansas media member except for him. But my understanding is he's a pretty big deal down there in Arkansas, okay? Well, I bring it up because he was on the Hogs Central podcast talking about coaching candidates, mentioned the 4 names. Again, Alex Golish, USF, Ryan Silverfield, Memphis, Eric Morris, North Texas, Kane Womack, Alabama defensive coordinator. And here is what Dave Bazell had to say about the situation.
Has any name in his back pocket here, it's going to just shock us.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Out of those 4, who do you like? You like Womack?
Yeah, but just because he's got a connection to Arkansas. His dad was a coach when I was there, GA at the time. He played for 2 years at Houston, sort of gets it. He's coached in the SEC, been a head coach at South Alabama, been around the block long enough, and has a good reputation. He's good enough to where he's the defensive coordinator at Alabama right now. So, but you know, I'll tell you, it'd be between him and Morris at North Texas.
Yeah, Morris left to overcome his name.
Yeah, I know.
I do like that he's the quarterback whisperer.
Yeah, I like that. I do too. And he's done a good job. He's still sort of green. Both these guys are young.
Yeah,
they're really young. But you have to sort of, you know, somebody who's got a little feel about the state of it. He played. You know,
that's
listen,
right.
Kane Womack was a player at Arkansas. That gives him, to me,
that's something I think fans want.
I think a tremendous advantage. He went to school at Fayetteville High School. You know, I found out today that Molly Harrell, the granddaughter of Coach Broyles, went to school with him. So I was unaware of that, and I knew his dad. And so, not that that's the end all, but I think those are valuable things.
So that was Dave Bazell on the Hog Central podcast. You know, again, I don't know Dave. I do know that he carries a lot of weight in the state of Arkansas, and I do know that when he speaks, people listen. And so let's go ahead and dive in. So like I said, so first of all, let me say this. After we got off air on Sunday, I started making some phone calls. And part of the reason why I was curious was because, remember, the reporting has been that Arkansas wants to name a head coach soon, like before the end of this week. And so it kind of hit me. I'm like, if they want to hire somebody this week, it can't be Alex Golish. He's got a game to coach. Can't be Ryan Silverfield. He's got a game to coach. Can't be Eric Morris. He's got at least one, maybe more than one game to coach at this point. So I said, is this going to be Kane Womack? So I texted two people I trust in the state of Alabama that know the Alabama program. Remember, Kane Womack is the defensive coordinator at Alabama. I said, hey, you hearing this? And one said definitively, yeah, I actually am hearing that is the guy that Arkansas is prioritizing. Now, I will say, to be fair, my other Alabama guy said, I think it's a lot of smoke. I don't actually think he's leaving. Let's talk about Kane Womack, the pluses and minuses, and I'll be transparent. So my personal belief is if I was Arkansas and I was doing the hiring and I had a choice between those four guys, I do like Eric Morris, the head coach at North Texas, and we mentioned it the other day. I'll just be transparent. One, I think it's an offensive world. I think, you need to be great on offense. I also think it's a tough sell it's not a tough sell because, if you win games 20-6 and you're awesome, that's all that matters. Winning is all that matters. But I do think scoring 45 points and being fun to watch and putting the ball in the end zone is a lot of fun. And so I believe in Eric Morris. He does have, he's a very successful head coach. As they said on that podcast, that he is the quarterback whisperer. Every quarterback he works with turns to gold. Cam Ward was a 0-star recruit at Incarnate Word till he started playing for Eric Morris, and then he was the number one pick in the draft 3 or 4 years later. So you go on and on. I love Eric Morris. The other thing, too, with Eric Morris, he doesn't have great NIL at North Texas. And so to me, that matters because, we've heard this complaint about Arkansas from Hunter Yurachek. We are not funded right now to the level that we need to be. Now, maybe by the time this hire gets made, they will be. But you want a guy that's already doing more with less. I would go ahead and hire Eric Morris. Now, the issue with Eric Morris, it's almost like a Lane Kiffin light type thing where he's going to be in the American Championship with a win this weekend. And if he wins this weekend, then guess what? Can you wait another 3 weeks to name your head coach? If you're Arkansas, I don't think that you can. So I just bring it up because I am an Eric Morris guy. Let's talk about Kane Womack, though. Because like I said, a lot of people I trust were saying, there's starting to be a little bit of smoke. I think there are things that I like and things that I don't. So transparently, what do I like? I said it the other day. I want a younger guy. I know everybody wants the guy with a bunch of experience that's been there and seen it all and done it all. I just think in this NIL world, you have to be flexible. You can't be rigid. You can't be stuck in your ways. This thing is changing. College sports, as we know, we're going to talk about the Players Era Championship in 10 minutes. It's a new event that didn't exist 2 years ago. Now it might kill the Maui Invitational, okay? So college sports is changing so fast that you have to be able to change with it. And I just think a 37-year-old or a 41-year-old or a 38-year-old is going to adjust better than a 61-year-old. I think that's why a lot of these older coaches have gotten out. They just said, I've been doing it one way the entire time. I don't want to try to learn it another way. So I like the young part. As far as Womack's concerned, I don't like the defensive coordinator part. And I guess what I would say is this. I know he played at Arkansas, went to Fayetteville High. I don't know. So let me even backtrack, okay? So I think in theory, it's good that it's a guy that we believe, based on what Dave Brazell said, really wants the job. Here's where the issue comes in for me, though. You know who else very publicly said they want the job, and it was maybe the only selling point to hiring him? Sam Pittman. Do we not remember how Sam Pittman got the job? Went through this long hiring process. Nobody wants it. Lane Kiffin was involved at Arkansas for half a second. Everybody forgets about that. By the way, Arkansas fans, I'm sure it would have been worth all the wins. You would have had a lot of freaking anxiety watching this Lane Kiffin thing unfold. Anyway, we're not talking about Lane Kiffin here. But that's how Sam Pittman got the job. Was that, a bunch of dudes turned it down. And what was Sam Pittman's selling point? Well, he wants to be here. He loves Arkansas. He loves the school. And I think at the time it was probably the right hire. Spent a bunch of money on the coordinators, Barry Odom, Kendall Briles at the time. And it worked out. Won 9 games in year 2. Fell apart pretty quickly, though. And so if the number one, what's the right word? Not priority, but the number one bullet point on a resume is wants to be there, I need to see something more. Now, the good thing is Kane Womack, listen, he knows what he's doing. Coached at South Alabama before he got to Alabama, before he went to Alabama as the DC, I should say. Did win 10 games in year 2. So he has had coaching experience. We don't know enough about his recruiting. I mean, Alabama is recruiting well. Is that because of Kane Womack or is that because they're Alabama? We don't know that part. But I guess all I would say is, if that ends up being the hire, like, listen, he could have done worse. He could have gotten somebody, whatever. But one, I don't love the defensive hire in this offensive world that we're in. I do like that he's a little bit younger. I like that he wants to be there because, listen, nobody wants to hire somebody that doesn't want to be there. But I just don't know if that can be the number one selling point. And so we'll see what happens. Other than that, really no super strong opinions on Kane Womack. I'd be open to the discussion. But the counter to that is I do think I'd probably, at minimum, wait to see if Eric Morris becomes available after this weekend, if he becomes available after next weekend. And we'll see what happens from there. Yeah, just with Kane Womack, it is what it is. I don't love the hire, but I guess I could be talked into it. The one thing I will say, Alabama, it's funny, I was at the Alabama-Gonzaga basketball game on Monday night. Greg Byrne, the athletic director, was there. I think, Kane Womack has seen up close and in person what a high-level operation from the top down should look like in college athletics. And so I do think that he would have a good idea of how to put the right front office in place, the right player personnel people in place. And then on top of it, also, build a program from the ground up. Obviously, would be starting from a different point than Kalen DeBoer, his current boss. So we'll see what happens. If Arkansas wants to make a hire this week, he's the only one that really makes sense. By the way, I should mention, I didn't even mention this, Kane Womack was asked about it and basically said, my only job right now is the University of Alabama, was pretty non-committal on that. So we'll see what happens there.